This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How are we doing today on this Thursday? We're hanging out here the first full week of November. This is the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. You're watching us on the Bama Central YouTube channel. You're checking us out on my own social media machines at Joe Gaither 6 on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Or you might be listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or Amazon, the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Hanging out with you every weekday, talking all things Alabama sports and more. And we are hanging out with my friend Mason Woods. You can find him at MAWoods_ on the Twitter machine. He joins us each and every day, and he writes recruiting for us at Bama Central and BamaCentral.com and all the other Walsh writing networks. Mason, good morning. How we doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing good this morning. Doing good. Ready to get into it a little bit. You know, we've been kind of teasing that we're gonna talk a little more LSU this whole week, and I'm ready to really kind of get into the Bengal Tigers a little bit today.
Oh, that's exactly what we're going to try to do today. I watched a good bit of LSU and Ole Miss, a good bit of LSU in South Carolina, obviously a good bit of LSU and Texas A&M as well. Those were the three games that I really tried to dial in on because those, I guess, were the equal competition. I know they lost to USC in the opener. I think Alabama's a little more talented than the Southern California Trojans, but obviously that was the opener. That was a long time ago. Those were the three games I focused on at South Carolina, home with Ole Miss, and on the road with Texas A&M. Those were the three games for us. So we'll talk about what LSU, if LSU wins, this is what will happen. This is what they'll need to do. This is what they'll to do against Alabama. Then we'll talk about Alabama. We'll talk about what Alabama will need to do to beat LSU to go into Death Valley and come away with a win, as Alabama so often has. Why? Why has the road team had so much success? Now, not lately for LSU, only winning up here in 2019 and up here again when in 2011 the 9-6 game. So really not as much for LSU lately, but the road team traditionally had a lot of success in this series. I wonder why that is. And then we will finish it up with our three players to watch in the game. We'll also talk about Jalen Milroe, how we think that the offense will fare in the noise, how they will improve or maybe regress in the noise from their time in Knoxville. We'll do all that right here on the Joe Gaither Show. We invite you to jump in and join us on the comment section at Joe Gaither 6. You can send us a comment, a question, a query, and complaint, whatever you like, right there in the comment section below. Before we get into it, we want to thank our friends, Purple Turtle Roofing, for sponsoring the program. They're the most reliable residential roof replacement company in Alabama and Mississippi. You can call Dustin Foley and his team today at 877-PT-ROOF-5 for your free roof inspection. That's 877-787-6635 to schedule your appointment. And one of their qualified employees will come check out your roof for free and make sure you're prepared for any and all of life's storms. You can check them out online at roofturtle.com. All right, Mason Woods, we've been dancing around it. We've watched a little bit of LSU over the week. Garrett Nussmeier. All right, let me put your feet to the fire, gun to your head, proverbial gun to your head. Is Garrett Nussmeier better than Carson Beck? Point blank, period. Yes or no?
Oh, that's kind of hard for me to answer.
That's why it's a tough. Yeah, we're putting you right on the spot.
No. I think the peak that I've seen from Carson Beck is better than the peak that I've seen from Garrett Nussmeier.
Okay, all right. So what do you think?
I think Carson Beck's on a bit of a rough stretch here.
Oh, exactly. Yes, I guess he's gone a couple games. Did he throw? He did throw a touchdown. He threw a touchdown to Cash Jones in that Florida game, little Texas route over the middle that Cash Jones took in.
He's had a rough go at it.
But yeah, other than that, I think that was maybe it was first touchdown in the last couple of games.
Yeah, and he's thrown a lot of interceptions.
Oof.
But I think you can see what he can do. You look. And we've talked about it time and time again, but that second half against Alabama, he was dealing. I mean, that's some of the best quarterback play I've seen all year from anybody. So I haven't really seen that kind of level of performance from Nussmeier. I think that Ole Miss game was pretty impressive, but I don't really think he was doing the things that Carson Beck was doing in that game. So I think on a perfect day, if you take both of them, I'll take what Carson Beck can do on a perfect day.
All right, where do we rank Kyron Lacy in terms of wide receivers that you've seen? You've seen Luther Burton and Theo Weiss for Missouri. They've got to be up there in your class. You have seen what's the young man Arian Smith, 11 for Georgia, 86. Dylan Bell for Georgia. You've seen who else has been a really good receiver this year? Nobody really for Western Kentucky or South Florida or even you did have a kid who made a touchdown reception against Alabama for Wisconsin. I cannot think of his name. Really, where are we putting Kyron Lacy? Is he the second best receiver you've seen all year? The third best receiver you've seen all year? What are you stacking him up offensively?
I would say he's probably second. He's second or first, honestly. I think he's in the same tier as Luther Burden. I think both of those guys are probably some of the best receivers in the country. I think Theo Weiss is maybe just slightly a tier below them, still in that first round conversation, but maybe a late first round or falling into a second round kind of guy. But Kyron Lacy is really, really, really good. Just yet another receiver in a long line of elite LSU wideouts. He catches a lot of footballs and he makes it look pretty easy. So he is going to be a challenge for whoever is tasked with covering him. And I think we'll maybe get into that a little later. But yeah, no, Kyron Lacy is easily one of the best players Alabama's faced this year.
All right. So with that being said, let's hypothetically project an LSU win. Let's say it goes down there and it goes wrong for Alabama. LSU wins. In your mind, if what happens?
I think if LSU figures out a way to limit the run game for Alabama and kind of force Jalen Milroe to win the game with his arm, which, not to take anything away from Jalen Milroe once again, but that's not his game. That's not the game that, he is the most comfortable playing. That's not where he is most effective when he's asked to win games with his arm. So if Alabama can't get any kind of push with the offensive line, can't get the run game going, I think they're going to struggle a lot because LSU is going to move the ball on offense. They're going to tire the defense out. They're going to stress this Alabama defense a lot. It's going to be hard to get pressure on Garrett Nussmeier because the offensive line is so good. And like we just said, Kyron Lacy is an elite talent on the outside. So, they're probably going to score some points. And if Alabama can't keep up, then you're going to get into some trouble.
I think that that's exactly what if you're LSU, if you're one to win this game, I'm walking into this game trying to replicate. Okay, so you struggled a little bit against Texas A&M before you kind of got going, and then the game kind of started to become a game. But your offense got into it, and same sort of thing at South Carolina. You struggled a little bit, and then you got into it. Same little bit against Ole Miss. You were 17-7 at half. You struggled a little bit, and then you get into it. I think if you're LSU, you want to get to your quick game as fast as possible, be saying, okay, players, not plays. You got to be dicing it up with Mason Taylor and with Aaron Anderson, and you've got to be utilizing Kyron Lacy in that second level. They've got another receiver, number 0. Hold on, let me pull up their R lads here because I just was watching plays, not taking as good of notes as I should have. As I was 0 is Xavier Thomas. Yeah, thank you. 0 is going down the field a lot, getting some deep shots, and I think that's what you need to end up doing. Use Xavier Thomas getting down the field and getting underneath with Aaron Anderson and with Mason Taylor. And if you're doing that, you are getting the plays into space. What really, their offensive line is good.
Yeah.
But Texas A&M and LSU Texas A&M and South Carolina both got after him a good bit, especially early with different looks. So Womack, if you're LSU, I'm trying to start from an LSU perspective here. If you're LSU, you want to basically assume that you're going to get some exotic looks from Kane Womack, and you're going to want to kind of get the ball out quickly so that Nussmeier can get quick completions and stay on schedule. I don't know. quite how well LSU is going to be able to run the football. If they're going to try to run the football first, I don't think that's going to be an effective game plan. I think that if you're LSU, you want to use the running the football. They do run the football in a traditional manner from under center and from the shotgun standpoint, but you want to run the football as a way to keep Alabama off balance from your passing game. Oh, you think it's 2nd and 10 and you think we're passing again? Well, it's a handoff and here's we're going to take 6 yards and now it's 3rd and 4. I don't know that you're going to see a whole lot of traditional first down runs as much. I think you're going to, if you want to be successful with it, you use it to keep Alabama off balance. In which case, you'd use it kind of as a wild card.
Yeah, I think you mentioned, getting the quick game going. I think that not only does that kind of activate LSU's offense, like you said, but it also helps Garrett Nussmeier get some confidence back in himself because he's coming off a pretty tough game against Texas A&M, where he threw some really ugly interceptions, and we kind of broke
and
those
some of that's
down.
come from pressure.
Yeah.
And the South Carolina interception came from pressure. The Ole Miss interception that I saw came from pressure. Like, that's the key for Alabama. But really, from an LSU perspective, you got to get those hands down. You got to get the balls out. I mean, you've got talented wide receivers. You've got to be calling plays that accentuate that to where you're not calling routes that are 30 yards down the field. You're calling routes that are, bam, 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 3 steps and the ball's out.
Yeah, I think that is the blueprint for LSU's offense here if they want to win the game. Alabama is very talented on defense. They, while LSU's offensive line is very good, they're going to get some pressure. It's not like LSU isn't going out here playing against nickels again. So they're playing Alabama. Guys are going to win some one-on-one battles. You might not win all of them, but every now and then pressure is going to get through. So you have to work around that, I think, for LSU's offense. And doing that is a good way to do it. Getting it to the players who are the most talented players on the offense. I like Garrett Nussmeier, but let's be honest, it's your Aaron Andersons, it's your Kyron Lacey's, it's your Mason Taylor. So getting the ball to those guys, especially out in space, and just giving them the ability to work on the outside, giving Aaron Anderson the ability to work underneath, that really just opens things up a lot, and it kind of gets your offense into hyperdrive and gets things moving.
Now, Mason, we talked about it a little bit during the week, but if you're LSU, are you looking at your schedule and are you wondering if you're ready for this matchup? Because, okay, yes, Texas A&M last week. Yeah, that's pretty much equal talent to Alabama. Okay, Ole Miss, that's pretty much equal talent to Alabama.
This year, yeah.
But you got USC in the first week, a little below. Nichols, no. South Carolina, great defensive line, but as a whole, maybe not. UCLA, South Alabama, Arkansas, there's a little part of me that wonders, when you play these tougher teams, I mean, you beat Ole Miss in overtime at home, and it took you, past 4 quarters to do so. You went to South Carolina and you were down 18 to something. You were down early by a large chunk. You went to Texas A&M and ended up getting your butt kicked. You were in the game for a little bit, but ended up getting your butt kicked. Do you have any concern if you're LSU with Alabama coming to town with the way that you've played against some of these higher end teams?
I don't think anybody's saying it, but I think everybody's thinking it in the back of their heads 1,000%. I think the coaching staff, especially, because they're probably able to view things a little bit more objectively than some of the players are. I'm sure that they have looked at this team up and down, especially after that Texas A&M game, and said, how ready are they really? How battle tested is this team? Because that game did not really show that they are at all. So, the players, they're probably just as confident as ever because that's how athletes are. But that might be nagging and kind of nipping in the back of their heads, especially if any of them are maybe online a little too much, reading comments on things and seeing people talk about, this and that. So I definitely think it's there. I don't know that it's maybe, a giant thing that everybody's worried it's right out in the open kind of, but it's definitely, has its grip kind of on everything just a touch.
Yeah. So if you're LSU's defense, right? So if you're, I'm Blake Baker. We're trying to make up for last year's debacle in Tuscaloosa where Jalen Milroe ran all over us. Obviously, Blake Baker was not the defensive coordinator during that for that game. But if I'm Blake Baker, what's the game plan? You don't have your linebacker Harold Perkins Jr. Obviously, he's went out a couple games ago, and he's been out the rest of the year. You got a lot of talent. It's LSU's defense. Obviously, there's talent there. But we saw last year that does not necessarily matter. Their defense was one of the worst defenses in college football. I'm just blitzing my butt off. What about you? I'm just blitzing I am just looking at what you've done against what Tennessee did against.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You look at what Tennessee did and just say, yeah, we'll do the same thing.
Yeah, you say we're going to put 6 guys in the box. Right up on the line of scrimmage, and we're gonna make Jalen Milroe guess which 6 are coming.
Yeah,
we're gonna put 8 guys up there, dropping the other 3, 9, 10, 11, dropping the other 3, and just make you guess which ones are coming. That's what I do the whole day.
And I think if you're LSU, you kind of have to hope that Alabama doesn't do what me and you talked about following that Tennessee game and just say, I don't care how many guys are in the box, we're gonna keep running the ball down your throat. Because that's the only way that Alabama's going to win in that situation, probably. So, it's a little bit of maybe hope on LSU's part if they're going to do that, but that's also the best way to defend this. It
Would you do anything else against Milroe? You got to defend the edges.
Yes, you have to keep him inside. You can't let him, get around the edge and into a straight line up the sideline. If you can keep him contained, and we have talked about this a lot, he is a great runner, but if you can keep him contained, he's a lot easier to bring down. He is not the shiftiest guy. He is a straight line runner. Yes, he is. He's not gonna
track star at it.
Whew. Yeah, he's great, but he's not gonna do a Lamar Jackson, hurdle a guy, spin around, and then break one right up the middle. It's just not his game. So if you can keep him between the tackles, if you can force him to try to step up into the pocket and run up through the middle of the line, things like that, you're gonna have a lot better chance of success against him.
This guy Whit Weeks, number 40, white linebacker, sophomore, coming off the edge, and he's just kind of like Tarzan out there, Mr. Everywhere. He's going to have to be a player that Alabama is going to have to do watching out for this weekend. I think that's the way you defend it. It is basically you set the edges hard and you bluff up the A gap or you bring them just at different times.
Yeah.
And you sit right in Jalen Milroe's kitchen the whole day. Try to like say, okay, you can't get out of this box like this hemmed in pocket. We're not going to let you out of it. So you better you're passing out of it. You're passing out of it, and it's your only hope. That would be my.
That's all. Yeah, I think again, it's just what Tennessee did. The Tennessee had the most success stopping this Alabama offense, I think, of anybody this season. So you just have to look to what they did and try to replicate it and hope that maybe Alabama, in a bit of a reactionary measure, like maybe they did against Tennessee, asked Jalen Milroe to throw the ball 45 times.
All right, so let's flip to the Alabama side. Before we do, we need to tell you that we are live in our friend Derry Daniel State Farm Studios. You can find Derry Daniel just off McFarland Boulevard. We're right here past the Tiger Rock on the left. He's got a great team, Red, Reese, and Victoria. They'd love to talk to you. 205-758-3391 for all your insurance needs, home, life, auto insurance. You need renter's insurance. You need something, a policy for your trailer, for your boat, whatever you need. Derek Daniel and his team can take care of you. Call Derek at 205-758-3391. Call and see how much Derek can save you today. All right, Mason. Let's flip to the other side. Obviously, a side we're more familiar with. We want to play equal sides here, so that's why we do the LSU side first. And self-scouting is important.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're Alabama and you're trying to go down to Death Valley and win, you're a 3-point favorite on Saturday night. What's the game plan, Coach? Coach Mason Woods, Kalen DeBoer?
Similar to kind of like we just said with LSU, you just want to look at what their bad game is, Texas A&M, and try to do something similar defensively, I think. And you kind of touched on it earlier. It just Kane Womack's got to get very creative, I think, with the looks that he brings this week to make pressure happen when guys may not be able to necessarily win one-on-one matchups up front. I think you're going to have to create your own pressure through scheme. And I think you're going to have to just rely a lot on the cornerbacks and the safeties to just cover guys one-on-one. And I think Domani Jackson can do it. I think, Brayson Hubbard can do it. I think anybody else in that defensive backfield can do it. But it's just going to be one of those things you have to ask them to do. But I think the biggest thing is asking the guys up front to just be very exotic with the types of pressure they are bringing in the ways that they are, the different stunts you want to bring this week, who you want to blitz on what play, who you want to blitz then, I think that's going to be the key here defensively.
You definitely want to be, you're exactly right. You have to mix up the looks so that the offensive lineman's eyes are going in different places. Because if you just say, hey, we want to whip you one-on-one, you can win a little. I mean, we got talented. Alabama's got talented defensive linemen, but on the whole, that's a bad recipe, in my opinion.
That's not a good plan for going into it.
So exactly. You want to be putting Jihad Campbell at the Wolf a lot, where he's an edge rusher. You want to be operating in schemes where you've got James Smith and Quay Russaw and Jihad Campbell and Tim Smith, where you're just getting guys out there where you are mixing it up front to where they're saying, oh, this is a different look than I've seen on film all year. Obviously, Alabama, you got your scheme. It's 4-2-5. You've got your scheme basically all, but you can tinker with it here and there up front, and there's ways that you can manipulate it, and we've seen it a couple of different times this season. You're going to have to get Deontay Lawson involved in the rush. You're going to have to bring it from all different angles. And if you're Alabama and Kane Womack, you're saying, okay, guys, this is what we've been kind of gearing up for, a game just like this with a good offensive line and a pretty smart quarterback. But if you can trick him a little bit, if you can move him a little bit, you can create these havoc plays, and that's really been your bread and butter. I know Alabama fans, you don't want to allow a single yard, but that's not this defense's game plan. This defense's game plan from Womack has been havoc plays, has been getting them into 3rd and longs, has been getting them into plays where you can attack and get turnovers or get sacks, and so you can do that again against this offense if you are creative and effective up front. Now, that really, really starts with sound gap integrity, because you still are going to want to be creative up front, but you have to maintain your gaps in the run game. You have to get to 3rd and long by, getting that first down stop at, oh, they got 3 yards. Okay, it's 2nd and 7. No big deal. It's 2nd and 7. Oh, it's an incomplete pass, and boom, it's 3rd and 7. We're rushing the passer, and you're getting after them a little bit. Yeah. So it can be done. I think this is something you've really been gearing up for. Let me throw this at you. With that in mind, how important is the bye week for Alabama? Was the bye week for Alabama?
I think it was extremely important. I think, having the just extra time, the extra practice time to install things that maybe you have not run all season is crucial. At the end of the day, a lot of these guys will be professionals, but not all of them are going to be. So we're still dealing with a lot of, college students. Like, these are 18 to 22-year-olds. It's, I imagine, quite difficult to install something brand new when they haven't been doing it all season. So yeah, having the extra week is massive. I don't know if, obviously this, we're used to this bye week being at this time of the year, but I don't know necessarily if this is, I think it's kind of just dumb luck the way it played out with just the style of LSU has, the way Alabama's played, that they happen to need some extra time to install some new things right ahead of LSU. So yeah, Alabama was very fortunate that this is how the bye week came up, and, just given the circumstances of the game.
All right. Offensively though, we talked about, we talked about Alabama's offense. Somebody's calling me that I'm not familiar with. Oh, let me knock that out. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. 1, 2. Am I back on? Looking for the phone.
Should pick you back up. Offensively, though. So, I think you look at, again, we're going to talk about the Tennessee game. You kind of have to do the opposite of what you did that game offensively. You got to hammer the run ball. You got to hammer the run. You got to get Jamma Justice involved. You've got to get Jalen Milroe rushing the ball. You've got to create yardage that way. I think, asking him to throw 40, 45 times a game is not a recipe for success against LSU.
You've got a lot of tape out there where quarterback run has hurt LSU.
Yeah.
But I would caution the Alabama coaching staff in making that the number one focal point. I still think you have to make Jammin Justice the focal point because there's a lot of tape also with traditional running backs getting downhill. I mean, Rocket Sanders whooped the ever-loving bleep out of LSU. At South Carolina, he ripped off a huge one down the sidelines. He ripped off one in the red zone for a touchdown. He had a great game, an amazing game, and you can get that out of your running back. And then when you need that backbreaker, when you need that 3rd and 6, and you're still calling it, you're still dedicated to it.
Milrow for 40 and a touchdown.
Yes, you got to use it effectively.
Yes.
I don't know that you want to look. It reminds me sometimes of when a 5th or 6th grader, when you're watching them learn how to play Madden for the first time, and they're finding the trick plays, and they're finding this play is the money play, and then they just start calling the money play only, and it's like, no, brother, those money plays only work when you go to them every so often. That's why I'd like to just scale back just a hair on the Milrow usage. And I wonder if it would just be so much more effective. And this week, you have plenty of tape of seeing seeing running backs get after the LSU defense. And you also have a lot of tape of quarterbacks getting vertical down the field on them.
Yeah.
So just use it in proper balance is really the caution.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you use the run game this week to allow you to take those shots. You don't just build your offense around taking those shots. If that, if that kind of makes sense, you have to, get Jammin Justice. These are 2 elite running backs. They will get yardage against this defense. It's not an if. It just give them the ball. They will get yards. So it's pretty simple for Alabama. I think the recipe this week, you just have to dial it back a little bit with asking Jalen Milrow to do everything and be the do-it-all kind of guy, and just allow him to give the ball to the other guys in the offense. I think the pass game is something that, you'll have chances, but to be honest with you, I would have no problem if Alabama just lined up
80 times,
80 rushes, and just win give me 14-10. That'd
bloody
be awesome.
Nose, just bloody nose the whole time.
That would be so beautiful. And then Kalen DeBoer just walks out. He goes to his show this week, flooded with phone calls from Alabama fans, just happier than ever.
Coach.
Oh, it'd be beautiful.
Speaking of Kalen DeBoer and his radio show, you sent me this.
Pee-wee, we love you, Pee-wee.
Absolutely,
a little
love
bit of
Pee-wee.
misinformation out there.
I had seen this Facebook post, so I know that it circulated widely about congratulating Coach DeBoer. Coach DeBoer and his wife are not having a third child.
For anyone that
they're
saw
like
that.
he just turned 50, and I think she might be. I don't want to speculate a woman's age, but I think she might be 47.
Yeah, from what I understand, their other children are
a little bit past,
almost grown at this point. I don't think they're in the business of having any babies.
Yeah, a little bit past that time. So, funny moment for Kalen DeBoer last night. We saying congratulations for a 3rd baby, and Coach DeBoer having to spoil it, saying, that was some fake news. But apparently, Pee-wee wasn't the only one. Coach DeBoer saying he got a lot of text messages from friends congratulating him, and he had to be like, honey?
Beg the question. I don't know. What are you doing that you make this rumor up? That's such an odd thing.
Well, and the rumor was that she was 4 weeks pregnant. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot when it comes to the female anatomy, but I know that 4 weeks is you're not announcing anything at 4 weeks because most ladies aren't even aware, or maybe they're barely aware that they're
it's
pregnant.
Such an odd, just really weird thing for somebody to make up. I don't know. You would see these kind of rumors with a large public figure, and sure he is, I guess, but
he is, man. Biggest public figure in Alabama.
So strange that someone took time out of their day to craft a fake room. Like, what is the end game of this? You think it's going to distract them from the LSU game and they're going to lose? It's very, very odd. But yes, Kalen DeBoer and his wife are not having another child. The Alabama family will not get larger, unfortunately.
Oh, so sad. So sad. All right. So we think that's kind of Alabama's recipe is getting after this LSU offensive line, getting you into third and longs and trying to create havoc plays, and then really trying to stay on schedule offensively, utilizing the running game to take pressure off Jalen Milroe. Let's transition real quick. We're right at 30 minutes, so this is perfect. We'll take the last segment to talk about our 3 players to watch. And Mason, I almost picked James Burnip this week as my third player. James was almost on my list. So before we get into it, I just want to go ahead and say my honorable mention, James Burnip, for field position purposes. How underrated he has been for Alabama this whole year.
Yeah.
And just with a game that you're about to go into, you're gonna need a great punter. And James Burnip, shout out to you.
A fantastic punter. I believe he will probably have a lengthy career in the NFL with some team.
Absolutely. Let's tell you once again about our friends. Let me pop up our little graphic here about our friends, Purple Turtle Roofing. They're the most reliable residential roof replacement company in Alabama and Mississippi. Whether it's addressing leaks, storm damage, or general wear and tear, Purple Turtle Roofing is going to be there to deliver exceptional repair for your property. They're the leading expert in local residential roofing solutions, specializing in providing unparalleled service and quality craftsmanship for all your roof replacement needs. Call Dustin Foley and his team today at 877-PT-ROOF-5 for your free roof inspection. That's 877-787-6635 to schedule your appointment, and one of their qualified employees will come check out your roof for free and make sure you're prepared for any and all of life's storms. Check them out online today at roofturtle.com. And we are live, as always, in the Derek Daniels State Farm Studios. You can call Derek and his team today at 205-758-3391. Call and see how much Derek can save you today. Mason Woods. We didn't do a 3 players to watch last week because nobody played for the Crimson Tide, but we're back in action. 4 weeks to go. Home stretch for the Crimson Tide. And I don't really like to do this, but I just looked at it. My 3 players last week I'm going right back to the well. My number 1 player to watch this week is going to be Jam Miller, because it's just got to happen for the Alabama offense. You saw what it looked like last week when the 2 running backs, or the 3 running backs are featured, when the position as a whole is featured. Just give the young men the football over and over and over and over again. Really, if these simple 2 guys, Jam and Justice, get you 24 to 30 carries, it won't be enough. It still won't be enough, because these 2 guys have the capability of putting your football team on your back. And I think in a must-win, gotta have it game, I know you trust Jalen Milroe, and he does have to have a big game. And I think he's too low of a fruit for me to choose in this game, in this 3 players to watch game. But in order to allow Jalen Milroe to have a good game, you lean on these other players. And Jam is my number 1 player to watch. If Jam Miller can have himself a good game, I think the entire Alabama fan base can feel comfortable throughout the whole game.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned him in your breakdown there of Jam, and I'm going to take the other guy in the backfield, Justice. I think he is another very key part of what Alabama needs to do in this game in order to come out with a victory. You know, he's the guy that's going to be spelling Jam when he needs to come off the field. He's the guy that is going to be, inserted into specialty spots where you need just a slightly different skill set. So you have to get both of them going. You have, like you said, 25 to 30 carries is not enough. They need to be in that 45 to 50 range, hopefully. I love Jalen Milroe, again, like you said, but you just have to turn around and just play some man football and hand the ball off. It's just that simple. You gotta get these guys going, and it takes a little time, and it might not be pretty at first, but it will get going.
All right, so I'm scrolling here. Yeah, that's what I wanted to see right there. Yeah, perfect. Last week when Alabama hosted Missouri, Missouri came in and had the number 7 total defense. That's what I wanted to see as well. Number 7 in total defense. After the game, now Missouri is now at 13, allowing 299 yards per game. You know where LSU is entering this week's game?
On down there, I would imagine.
They are at, because I can't read unless it's right in front of my face, they're at 58. They're at 58 in total defense, and they have allowed 360 yards per game. And just think, you saw what to do against an elite defense last week against Missouri. And look, you can argue, oh, Missouri is no good. Their defense was still pretty healthy.
Yeah.
And look, Blake Baker, the LSU defensive coordinator, and Corey Batoon, the Missouri defensive coordinator, were all playing out of the 4-2-5 system. It's going to be you just follow the recipe. You carry the recipe from last week. You carry it over. I know you didn't get down the field too much offensively. Corey, it would have been a whole lot different if Kobe Prentice had hauled in half of his receptions. It could have looked a lot different. So just follow the recipe that you laid out last week. And that starts with Jam Miller, or if you like the other flavor, Justice Haynes. My number 2 player for the week is Alabama inside linebacker, number 11, Jihad Campbell. Jihad Campbell is going to be playing Stinger, the inside linebacker, and he's going to be playing Wolf. He's going to be playing in those passing down situations. I think that Campbell has the potential to be the X factor in the kind of pass rushing department. And because of that, I think that that's why he is on my list. I think that if he's able to get yourself a sack or a half a sack or a quarterback pressure on Garrett Nussmeier, force a turnover, I think that will end up being really probably your difference in the game. And so, Jihad Campbell, you are my number 2 player to watch this week.
I like that pick, especially like you just said, if he's going to be kind of moving around a little bit between those 2 spots, and that should allow for him to get some exotic looks pressure-wise and maybe get him back there in the backfield and get a big sack, a big strip sack, something like that, maybe force an interception, because we have seen that happen with Garrett Nussmeier before. I'm going to stick with the offensive side for my number 2. And I'm going to go, maybe this is just purely for the storyline a little bit, but I'm going to go with Kendrick Law. I think he can have a big homecoming game here. He, goes back to his home state of Louisiana. He was a bit shy of sharing who was all going to be at the game, but I imagine he has a lot of family probably going to be at that game. So I think he's going to maybe show out for everybody that's there for him. Yeah, he didn't do a lot last year, 2 catches for 25 yards, but he is a very talented player. And I think, like we kind of said when we were talking about the offense, if you can use him effectively in limited spots and just get him the ball in space, he can kind of work and create his own yardage.
He was asked yesterday further on about you remember he had the penalty at the end of the Tennessee game. And he was gracious about it. That, oh yeah, I realize I hurt my team. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna learn from that. Very standard, very, very, very. And then he said, and it's not gonna happen again. Well, if you remember, the very next week against Missouri, he got himself another personal foul. It was a personal foul on, that was a weird play.
Yeah.
It was a weird play, but he did get a personal foul. It was on the
weird punt one
that ended up hitting the leg of the guy that the official never saw. It should have been an Alabama ball, and it should have been a live ball that Kendrick was just kind of fighting for, and that should not have been a penalty if they had seen it correctly, but they didn't see it correctly, so they thought the play was dead. And he unfortunately got a second personal foul. But it's just funny how he said, "Oh, and it won't happen again." The next week, he got another personal foul. A little bit different nature, a little bit more in the spirit.
That one you can excuse a bit,
that one was a little bit more in the spirit of the game.
Yeah,
for sure.
But yeah, I think I would like to see him have a big game this week. He probably won't get a ton of looks, just given hopefully the way they handle things offensively is just going to be really run heavy.
All you need is a couple, man.
There we go.
A couple touches, get down the field.
Crossing route underneath, just get him the ball, get the ball in his hands and let him work.
Touch, pass, speed, sweep.
Yeah, that's what we need from Kendrick Law this week.
Oh, yeah, I like that pick. I definitely like that pick. I think he's going to be more motivated. My third pick, I know I said I almost picked James Burnham, and I'm serious about that. He was
Elite.
it was James Burnham in my brain. Um, It was James Burnip or it was one of the offensive linemen, whether it be
Oh,
Caden
yeah.
Proctor or Elijah Pritchett or Tyler Booker. I think that the offensive linemen are really going to be critical in this game to protect Jalen just enough because I think they are going to be blitzing their butts off. And I do think that it's going to be a heavy load on Jalen and the offensive line handling the looks. So I think they're going to be very important. But in that same spirit, I'm going to take a chapter. Let's go back. The last bye week that Alabama had was before a big game, and it was against the Georgia Bulldogs. And Alabama came out and went out to what? 30-7 first half lead. Part of that, the offense moved very, very smoothly because Jalen Milroe was just doing the AJ McCarron. You can't go broke taking a profit, taking underneath, balls out underneath. Kendrick Law got a couple receptions, right? Kendrick Law, 1 reception, 19 yards. But really, who was accentuated the most during that early period? It was the tight end. CJ Dupree, 4 catches, 38 yards. Josh Cuevas, 2 catches, 28 yards. Robbie Oots, 1 catch, 7 yards. So between the proverbial tight end, you have 8 catches for what's that? 50, 61 for 70 yards, 8 catches, 70 yards. I think that CJ Dupree is going to have a nice little game here down in the bayou because it's going to be safety valve, safety valve, safety valve. You got to get the ball out. And really, it's exactly what you need. It's everything that we've been talking about. Stay on schedule. You don't have to hold on to the football and make every play a 40-yard bomb to Jeremy or Ryan. I mean, those guys are awesome. They're absolutely awesome.
And they'll
They're
be
incredible.
chances.
But you just have to stay on schedule. Let the ball out to Kendrick Law underneath, to Kobe Prentice, to CJ Dupree underneath. Let these guys are good athletes too.
Yeah.
They're on the field for a reason. They can rumble and tumble for a quick 8 yards, and boom, you're still on schedule. CJ Dupree, you are my number 3 player of the week based off of your 4-catch, 38-yard performance against the Georgia Bulldogs.
I really like that pick. I think, for all the reasons you laid out, he could very well have a big game this weekend. It just, and it gets said all the time, but you just got to take what the defense gives you. And I believe this defense will probably give CJ Dupree a lot of options or a lot of opportunities. I'm going to go to my number 3. I'm going to go to the defensive side, and I'm going to go Damani Jackson.
Woo, we love it.
Damani Jackson locked up Luther Burden when we played Missouri. I know that there was a little bit of discrepancy with the quarterback play there, but he did. And he's going to lock Kyron Lacey up too. He's going to be the guy likely covering Kyron Lacey a lot of the time. So it's going to be wow, I don't know if the sirens are coming through, but somebody's getting arrested out there. It sounds like.
Kyron Lacey, maybe. I don't know. Somebody right outside the window. Is it me? Maybe they're coming for us. Probably not, but hopefully whoever is.
There's literally a fire truck on the street right out front of the Derek Daniels studio here. Not this building. He looks like he's going down the road to somewhere
I hope
else.
everybody's A-okay.
I hope everybody's
Absolutely.
okay.
Send a little prayer up for them.
Kyron Lacey, though.
Sorry about that.
Roll on. Damani Jackson, that I was saying. I think he's going to put up a good performance against Kyron Lacey. I think he has shown us that he can lock up some of the best receivers in the country, some of the best receivers in the SEC. And I think this week will be no different. That does not mean that Kyron Lacey is going to have 0 catches this week. So don't get angry if he, gives up a few. But I think overall he's going to have a very good performance.
I'm glad you mentioned that because, look,
Cornerback's the hardest position.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves with Alabama fans. You let one catch up, and it's like, oh, get that SOB off the field. Look, if Kyron Lacey comes away with a 4-catch, 56-yard day, even 1 touchdown. You hate that, but even one, okay. If you're holding him to under 80 yards, under 6 or fewer catches, 5 or fewer catches.
Yeah.
5 or fewer.
You had a great game against him.
And so look, I really like Damani. I don't know if you saw the last time he was available to the press. He was horrible. He was horrible with us. And it's fine. That's your prerogative. It was very much a I'm just here so I don't get fined moment.
Yeah.
And that's your prerogative. I would just wonder, and I can say this since it's a podcast now, and I can be a little looser. I just wonder if he feels like the Alabama fan base and the media, us, have overlooked him on as far as where he stands on this team because he gets an interception in the Georgia game early, but Xavier Brown gets an interception in the Georgia game late, and they're both available to the media. And what is that Damani asked about the entire time? Oh, tell us about Xavier and your teammate and your time at Mater Dei and Xavier and Xavier. And great, you should be asking about Xavier too. But I just wonder if Damani feels a little bit like, hey man, I'm one of the best players on this defense. I'm one of the best players, and I think he is.
Yeah, he definitely is.
I wish that there was a way, all this to say, I hope this isn't taken as a slight on Damani. I hope that somehow, some way over the last 4 weeks of the year, because look, if Damani plays well over these last 4 weeks, whether Alabama's in the playoff or not, he's probably a top three round NFL draft pick. Yeah. He might even be a first round draft pick. Depends on how well he tests and who, I'll hope that there's a way over the last 4 weeks of the year for us to be able to accentuate Damani, his play, who he is, and maybe highlight him a little bit better. That's my point.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think some cornerbacks, if they're not the loudest, like most boisterous personality, they kind of have a way of just quietly being elite talents because they don't get targeted, so you don't hear their name a lot. But there's a reason they're not getting targeted. Yeah. So I think he's kind of fallen into that spot this year where, this isn't the NFL. It's not like he can just go make a big show about everything he's doing. He can't roll up to the football facility in a Brinks truck or something, so he doesn't have that opportunity to maybe do that. So I think he maybe feels a little slighted because not no one, but a lot of people,
it's all been about, and these are great players too on the defense.
A lot of people will look at it and be like, well, look at his stats. And it's like, there's a reason he doesn't have those stats. Right. No one throws him the ball. Right. They're terrified to throw him the ball.
Right. So we'll keep going right here on the Joe Gaither Show, talking about Alabama and LSU tomorrow, leaving you with our official predictions on Football Friday. Tomorrow, also, Mason, get a little Alabama basketball back on the schedule. A little Friday night. Alabama is hosting Arkansas State. I was looking, there is no line yet on the game. I was like trying to see what it might be, 26, 48, 100, and whatever it's going to be. It's not enough.
Auburn. Brian Hodgson's team is going to play some tough defense.
They will. So we'll see. Maybe they'll get the cover.
He's got some insider knowledge. They might put up a fight.
Last night was a good night for the Alabama basketball rivals. UConn beating Sacred Heart 92-56. I know UConn, they're like, we're not your rivals. Get out of here, Alabama. Not Auburn beating Vermont 94-43.
Not 100.
And Creighton beating UT Rio Grande Valley 99-86.
Now, I noticed a common trend amongst those games. I don't know if you also noticed this. I don't think any of those teams scored 100 points.
They didn't even score 101? 105?
That's got to just be so embarrassing as a program to go out, opening night, you want to show your team off to the world.
Arkansas 76
and you can't even
60.
Put up a measly 100
didn't
points.
Get to 90.
Ugh. So I would be disgusted if I was an Arkansas fan right now.
Alabama tomorrow night against Arkansas State goes. We'll talk about that as they'll probably put out a line on that game tomorrow, and we'll probably miss it completely, just like we did in the opener on tomorrow's edition of Football Friday. That's going to do it for our show today. We appreciate everybody who watched us on the Bama Central YouTube channel, everybody who checked us out on my social media machines at Joe Gaither 6 on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Or if you listen to us, you're my favorite actually on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Amazon. We appreciate everybody who checks out the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Go follow our friend Mason Woods at MAWoods_. Check out our friends Derek Daniel, State Farm, 205-758-3391 for all of your insurance needs. And check out our friends Purple Turtle Roofing at 877-787-6635, roofturtle.com for your free roof inspection.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.